Usamos estampillas totalmente.
You are now tuned in to your number one radio station. Violent people. Radio.
Welcome to Violent People at Radio, episode number 15. I'm joined...
15?
Yeah, we made it to 15, and you heard that right. That's Chris, back from the dead. How you doing, Chris?
Good. My voice is largely back.
Good to hear. I'd say you sound great. You sound way better than you did last week.
Yeah, I actually, lost it for a couple days. And it was I was mostly working register, so I didn't, while I was sick, I wasn't, touching drinks that people would have to consume with my sick germs. But
you also weren't being able to speak to them.
But yeah, I had to do a lot of talking.
Yeah.
And through a mask and stuff, so I had to speak up. But yeah, I'm getting that back. So what better way to ruin that all than to record a podcast for an hour and change?
You gotta. First off, we were down Sam, because I think he's at some kind of podcast convention. I can only assume getting us ads. And so we had to bring in the man himself, TheCubsFan. How you doing, TheCubsFan?
Yeah, like what you guys done with the site so far.
Thank you. I will admit to being a pretty big fan of yours. I think I blame or credit you and Chris Zellner for me being able to even understand Lucha at all. So before this week, it might have been credit, and now it's blame. We'll get into that. And then last second, Tanner, definitely, Tanner had to get out. So we actually have our first ever 2 guest hosts, and we have Pat, known as PTO, the Wacky Line Master. How you doing, Pat?
If I'm the master of the Wacky Line, my life has gone in some directions that I really did not plan for.
Yeah, you.
I'm going to spend the rest of the hour thinking about that.
Also, moderator of the Discord.
Yeah. Which?
I abuse my power like crazy. It's awesome.
Listen, I'm not calling anyone out, but I didn't know until about a week ago that we needed one, and then we needed one in a bad way.
So yeah, warden of the asylum.
Yeah, no. If you're familiar with dog cops from South Africa, that's basically what I do. Apartheid South Africa, I should specify.
Great.
Already fitting right in. Okay. Oh man. So I don't know if this will be getting into our main top, but it's just something I wanna ask TheCubsFan a question here. I don't want to misquote him. Is this possibly about Violent People Radio? Can't wait to get yelled at on a bad podcast because the bad angle was bad?
No. Going to yell at me as much on this podcast as other podcasts that might be yelling at me.
Oh, okay.
I feel good about this podcast appearance. But
okay.
We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, I wasn't planning on yelling, but you never know. Almost exclusively, the yelling's brought on by Tanner. And he's not here.
I can't believe Tanner and Sam, who I've known as Twitter people, and now ex-Twitter people for forever, stuck out on this podcast. One time I could have talked to them. They're just very disappointed. I'm glad I get to talk to you guys.
People will go to not watch AAA's kind of crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, that's justified. Okay, I can believe that.
Tanner had some personal reasons he couldn't be on at the last minute, but I will say he late last night, or I don't know what time it was yesterday because I was not online a lot, but he asked us to do his job for him. He's like, "How do I watch this?" And then doesn't bring it up till later in the day where he goes, "By the way, still haven't watched it."
That's the thing with AAA though, is you just wait 2 weeks and it's free on YouTube.
Yeah.
Well, this time it was free right away.
It's always free.
Yeah.
The only period of time it wasn't free is pretty much when Tanner decided to start looking for it. Like, they took it down when he wanted to watch it.
Yeah.
Oh, man. But
that's the advice for the people listening too, is if you want to hear, or if you want to see all the great Alberto El Patron stuff we're going to be talking about, if you want to see what it looks like when a man's tits have veins, just, wait 2 weeks. It'll be all over YouTube.
listen, I can't pretend to be an expert on the economics of that and why that makes any sense.
No. They're defrauding the 12 people who paid for it, though, so it's almost a big commercial crime because no one's watching the show at this point who didn't pay for it for free, anyways.
I will say,
so bad.
I am so broken that when my illegal stream I was watching went down, I went to Triller to pay for it. Like, I was like, screw this. I knew we were going to go to the show. I knew we were going to do this week's episode about it. I'm like, I'm just going to pay for it. And I have whatever, the $30 or whatever. And then it was like, oh no, it's just free.
Yeah.
Which is like, okay. But let's not get too far ahead. Chris, have you watched any non-TripleMania wrestling this week?
No. So while I was sick, I mostly was just kind of doing like my comfort show. I've been rewatching Lost.
Okay, all right.
And today I was going to do a little bit of some wrestling, and then I had to come in to work for someone else who got sick.
By you?
And close up shop. Different symptoms, but maybe. Even though I had not worked with this person. But yeah, so I didn't get to I watched like 2 Lucha Memes undercard matches that don't even warrant mentioning before I went in.
And like, when Chris says it's not worth mentioning, it's gotta really not be worth mentioning.
Yeah, it was like a 3-way with like Argus and a couple other guys in one of the matches from the July show. And
when I get sick, it's either I don't touch wrestling, or I like dig myself in a hole and like I'll end up watching 40 hours of wrestling in 2 days or something sick.
Yeah, I just watched a season and a half of Lost instead.
That's probably a better use of your time. Pat, you get into anything non-TripleMania this week?
I watched an old episode of XPW that literally had 0 wrestling content in an hour of TV time. From back in 2000. It was the episode of XPW TV where they bring in Onita for the Onita versus Sabu match that never happened.
Oh, the press conference or whatever?
Yeah, and that's they showed the entire press conference. And I think 3 music videos of XPW wrestlers, a lot of white trash Johnny Reb, skits. Or not, did I say Johnny Reb? Johnny Webb. Just the most dog shit TV you could possibly make. But it was the year 2000, so the world was everyone's oyster.
I'm going to bet that's still a better episode than some XPW shows that have wrestling on them.
Well, this was the classic era when you had all the stars like Vic Grimes. So, modern XPW, yeah. Because now they're just bringing in guys from IWA Deep South. It's like they can't even get guys who are actually trained. It's that is real stuff not worth publicizing, even on a free podcast. Other than that, I watched some of the GCW in Japan stuff, which, it happened. Alex Zane got injured. I didn't have a problem with that.
Nothing worth watching off that?
Those shows did not look good on paper.
The Manders versus Mance Warner match was okay, but it was too long.
Manders versus Mance Warner is also a weird match to run in Japan, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's like, I don't know why they're running it in Shinkiba First Ring. So I got the feeling like, okay, they're leaving stuff on the table for a future, second gear crew explodes type match. Great Sasuke versus Maki Ito should have been a good match, but I think Ito broke her hand or something. So they didn't really do much. And I think anything I say that could be even mildly construed as praise for Effie versus Danshoku Dino will get me just kicked out of the Discord by everyone else on the Violent People Discord. But I did not see it as the crime against humanity that some people on the Discord did.
Did you see the where was that show at? The GCW show in LA. They brought Chavo in the team with Ciclope and Miedo Extremo, and I just do not I don't understand that even a little bit. What does he have to do with those guys and Arez and Gringo Loco and Jack Cartwheel?
I think he lives in LA, doesn't he?
No, but I'm just I just don't know. I mean, outside of saying their skin color, why you bring Chavo and you're I gotta throw him in with these guys.
Yeah, I gotta put him in with Ciclope and Miedo Extremo.
I saw that. I was is there a connection I'm missing? I don't understand that 6-man team at all.
I have no idea, man. I mean,
GCW is good.
Hopefully next week you can get Chavo as a guest and put the boots to him about it. But
GCW is good if you forget about it for 6 months and then cherry pick the matches that you think will be all right. They break my heart anytime I try to even follow it a little bit. So I've pretty much given up on that. I will say I wasn't trying to besmirch 2000 XPW. I'm a known Cleveland Indie guy. When Euthanasia jumped ship and Matt Cross and Josh Prohibition went to XPW, I went with them. I'm a ride or die. I was I guess I'm an XPW guy now. I went what was that place? Suncoast? You guys have those in the malls back in the day? I went to there and I started picking up XPW VHSs, and my mom saw one that had a scantily clad woman on it and got very upset.
Was that when they had the feud between Lizzie Borden and Veronica Kane?
Yes, that is exactly what it was.
They were trying to build up to a match where one of them would get all their clothes torn off in the ring. And then what they ended up doing was they just turned off all the arena lights and did a no contest finish. And I think spiritually that has a deep kinship with the TripleMania stuff we'll be talking about.
Well, it's good to be Mom, it's not what you think. It's way weirder and worse.
Yeah. No, Mom, it's mostly just, fat guys cutting their foreheads open.
Yeah. All right, Cubs fans, you watch any non-depressing AAA wrestling this week?
Way too much CML. Nothing, it was the usual. There was nothing left and nothing down. And then after TripleMania, I didn't really want to watch much wrestling again.
That is fair. Is CMLL less hot, or am I just bored by it because it's just been the same so long?
I think it's less hot because they're missing they're missing a hot beat. The stuff that they're doing, the building up for September is good enough, but they don't have anything that approaches what Rocky Romero was doing in that promotion last year.
Yeah,
and they're also just coasting into September. The last few shows, here's the guys who were in the mass match holding their masks. And then here's the main event where the guys are going 75% speed. And then we'll see you in a couple weeks when we're actually going to try.
Yeah, because I am behind on CMLL, and I usually just like I have a weekend where I'm not doing anything, I'll catch up, and I still read your results, and I'm like, I feel like you could scramble some of these out of order, and I would have no idea where to place them.
No, they're not. When they get away from running 500 tournaments, then they lose track of what actually they should be doing week to week.
Yeah. I watched the main event from the Felino 40-year show. Is that 40 years? Is that right?
Yeah.
That's a lot of years. But that's how I know like a little bit of it's CMLL's fault is that anytime I watch Mystico anywhere else, or after normal places, I'm just pumped. Like, I didn't know I was supposed to care about Mystico versus Puma King, but apparently it's a match that someone's been wanting, because the whole 6-man tag, it's Felino Jr., Puma King versus Mystico, Pantera, and El Hijo de Pantera. And the whole match is built around like teasing you the Mystico Puma King matchup. And I was just like, I didn't know that was something I wanted, but it worked. I did want it by the end of the match, and I thought it was a good time. I haven't watched anything else from that show yet, but I think if that sounds like something people should watch, if you sound like you're gonna like it, you're gonna like it. Outside of that, I watched Joe Judge versus Mickey Knuckles from April in CZW, and that match is fun. I love Mickey Knuckles, and that match is fun because she takes an axe to Joe Judge's groin within like 2 minutes of match, and then there's 15 more minutes. I don't know how you go up from there, but they do. You should not watch that. It was not high-end Mickey Knuckles. And I don't know if this counts as wrestling, but I've been talking it up on the Discord this week. If you at all are interested in grappling or Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, you have to watch Cage Rotolo versus Andrew Tackett from CGI this last weekend. Craziest grappling match, best grappling match I've ever watched. It was wild. But I don't know how many people actually care about that are in the Discord, but it's like, if you like shoot style stuff, this is just one more leap over, in my opinion. But yeah, sounds like all of us did not get in the wrestling spirit this week because we were all hyper focused on our big top.
Yeah.
The main event of the show. I'm stalling because I don't know what the soundboard is. There we go. TripleMania. Before
I feel like you stalling because you didn't know where the sound. You got into the spirit of TripleMania instantly.
No, they didn't stall. I don't want to get into the matches just yet, but they started early. They're like, "Hey, don't worry about it. You don't have to tune in early." And they're like, "We're just kidding." But would I know? I guess all of us would. We all would have watched this show, whether or not we're covering it on a podcast. But what were your expectations going in, Pat?
I was just hoping that the main event would be like fun. Maybe not good, but fun.
Okay.
I really, AAA has trained me to expect everything to be bad. So I just at this point, it's like, I know I'm not going to see any good wrestling. I know I'm not going to see any good angles, but will I have fun watching whatever Vampiro's going to be doing? Or will I have fun watching 9 guys try to all squeeze out of one hole in the top of a dome?
Okay, Chris, what about you? What were you? Oh, okay. Yeah, Chris, would you have high expectations coming into this?
Oh yeah, I have the highest expectations for good old AAA in 2024.
Well, when the first 2 TripleManias of the year were so good.
Yeah, and I mean, they've been running really a hot streak for years now. Really since COVID, it's like AAA's never been better. For probably 3 years, I would say they are in a creative peak that is unmatched in company history. and this is the best event they've run yet.
All right. Now, Cubs fan, I don't know if this is rude to say. You seemed a little. I read your preview on Voices of Wrestling. You seem a little like Charlie Brown in the football. Like you maybe didn't have high expectations for the show, but you definitely were looking at it as a glass half full.
Thing that happened last week, I don't know, maybe it's like longer than that. I went on Twitter.com and I poked fun at the people who believed that Hiroki Goto was going to come through and win the G1 this time. And then karma caught up to me. I made my own. Hiroki Goto was going to win the G1 by thinking that this TripleMania would be like half decent. And I ran at the ball, and Lucy picked up the ball, and Lucy threw the ball right in my face. And that was the end of me.
Now, I won't say you convinced me, but I will say, like, I had no expectations. There's no way, they can turn this around. But you had a solid argument to how they could come out of the show in a positive way. And I was like, you know what? Maybe that'll happen. Maybe it'll happen. And then we'll get into it. But I think people know that it didn't. Did anyone? So what time did they start the Flamer versus Fabio Apache match? Because I missed it.
Right at like 9:35 or like 5 minutes into what was supposed to be the pre-show.
Okay, so it wasn't like the end of the pre-show. It was like, here's the pre-show, here's the match. And I went back and watched it, and it honestly, from like bell to bell, maybe the best match on the show. I don't know what you guys think of that.
It was up there.
Yeah.
It's a low ceiling, but it was up there.
It was a decently worked match between two capable performers.
So that's what I'm saying, yeah.
Which is the highest praise you can really give something on this show.
Now, I will say, I knew the finish going in, because I went back and watched it later, so, like, it probably was less deflating for me than it would be someone watching live. Even, I don't know if it should have been. But...
No, it's like... It's a Fabio Apache match. Of course, it's going to end up with Diego Durante's coming in. So, like, I agree. It was about exactly what you would expect that match to be, with them trying hard on Big Show and a fully spectacular finish. But that was like, yeah, I could see that as the best match of the show.
I saw some praise for the second match. How do I pronounce it? The Copa Bardal?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like the Royal Rumble style match that I don't like really any Rumbles in 2024, but I saw people that like this. Octagon Jr. ended up winning. You had your regular people, your Mr. Iguana, who this is like the only time they bring him in for some reason. You had, Charlie Mason was there, Microman showed up, Nino, and then there was just prizes like Kenzo Suzuki and Marco Corleone, and I saw people that had a good time with this. Maybe I'm just too cynical. Like it went on too long, and I think they always go on too long.
Yeah, I'm never a fan of the Copas. It's nice to see. It's nice to see some of the surprises that they bring in, but they always really drag.
Yeah. Yeah, it feels like if this was a 15-minute Rumble, which I know is crazy fast, but it's not like they're doing anything in there. It's not like there's these long through lines of stories in the match. Like I said, Kenzo looked excited to be there. Marco Corleone somehow didn't throw a dropkick, which is like his thing in CMLL or AAA, I mean, but yeah, I don't want to shut up, but it seemed like a lot of the guys in it had fun, and a lot of people had fun watching it. This is the same thing every time, and I don't believe they're going to do anything with Octagon Jr., but Cubs fan, do you think he has a chance of getting any direction in this company?
No, I'm sure he's getting a title shot so that like Alberto can screw him over. And then they need to find a way to get Alberto something.
My God.
Marco doing that drop kick was really disappointing because it's like for some reason I follow him on Twitter and like he'll reappear every 4 months. But how great his drop. So I was just dying to see that spot.
I was
We
glad
didn't
when I
get
saw
that.
someone say he didn't do it because, like I said, it's over 30 minutes long. My eyes are kind of glazing over, and I was like, I must have missed it. Because why would you bring him in not to have him do it? Not that he's a one-trick pony, and I think I'm more positive on him than some people, but if you're bringing him for the show, that's what you want out of him.
Yeah.
Pat,
Kenzo
were you a fan?
Suzuki.
Go ahead.
Kenzo Suzuki, whatever he was doing when he was actually a wrestler, he stopped doing completely. He looked like such a different person.
Oh, yeah. I don't know that I read him as Kenzo Suzuki if I don't know that.
Yeah.
I think if you just showed me and said which wrestlers this, I would have just like I'm the only problematic. I'm not guessing because I wouldn't have had a clue. Pat, you have any big thoughts on the match?
Yeah, it kind of summarized for me a problem I have with AAA in general, which is they don't really seem to put any care into laying things out. Like, with all the people in this Rumble-style match, you could have structured it in a way... Like, you could have just, done like a greatest hits of Royal Rumble spots, where there are the certain sequences that always work, like the ring gets, choked up with like 8 mid-carders, so then you have someone who's big, like, I guess like Marco, because, he's taller than the rest of the roster, or, Nino Hamburguesa, who's wider than the rest of the roster, comes in and just clears everyone out, and that sets up a standoff with some other big guy. Like, all the stuff that always works, and they don't do any of it. They had all these entrances 60 seconds apart so that the ring immediately clogged up with people, and then no one got eliminated for like 25 minutes, it felt like. It's like watching someone like being given instructions for a Lego kit, and instead of building the castle or the pirate ship or whatever, they are just trying to eat as many pieces as possible.
Now, Cubs fan, guys like Mr. Iguana and Nino, are they just like victims of circumstance where they don't have the right friends, or why are they never around? I guess is my question. Like, is it just they don't care to put them around, or are they actively like shunned outside of these big rumbles?
No, I think Mr. Guana is actually like pretty liked by AAA management. I think I was told he may have been one of the people helping put together that Copa. So I think it's just that they see those guys as like second match preliminary guys, and that's all they have them for. And then they also have like 80 guys and spots for like 30 people on TV every 3 weeks when they tape for TV. So a lot of people, like, if you're not one of the top guys, then you just don't get booked that often.
I'm not even like the biggest Mr. Iguana fan in the world, but like he's over in a company where there's not that many people that are over. And it's just always crazy to me when he shows up, and then I'm like, well, I'll see you again in 4 months.
See you at the next TripleMania.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
Or maybe I'll see you in like a trios match that opens a TV sometime.
Well, like I actually think the AEW, part of their problem is that I think their roster is too top heavy. Where I do not at all think that about AAA. Like, I think they have room for people to move up and down the card, and it just doesn't happen. But that brings us to what I would call, if the first match isn't the best match of the night, like from an in-ring perspective, is this match, which blew me away. The tag team title match, Negro Crosses and Psycho Clown versus Dr. Wagner Jr. and Galeno Del Mal, and Satnam Singh and the former Jinder Mahal Raj Desi. I thought this was really, really fun. I don't know that it makes sense, but it was really fun. What did you think, Chris?
Yeah, I mean, like, it's a strange beast because here we are on like the big AAA show of the year, and Psycho Clown is losing a tag championship to two foreigners on the third match of the card. but and like, but like, you take away like any, you take away booking, and this probably was the best match of the night. This is probably my favorite Negro Cassis match of his AAA run, which, I mean, it's been underwhelming the entire time he's been there. So that's not saying a ton, but
I really don't know. I love to blame AAA. I don't know that you can blame AAA for Negro Casas. It seems like a flip switched and he got old. Which, old is good in Lucha, but like I don't know. I watch him and sometimes it's a little, almost sad. For a guy that I think of so highly. I mean, I can't remember what the tag match was, but I watched it recently where he took so long to get his jacket off that I was like, someone help him. Pat, what did you think of this tag match?
I thought it was a good, like, you remember that Flow Slam thing, Style Battle?
Yeah.
Where the premise was like, we're going to have a one-night tournament and everyone's, coming from a different, we're going to have like Nick Gage versus whoever. I was thinking about that a lot while I watched this. And I mean, this was enjoyable. It's not, I doubt I'm going to remember a single bit of it in a week, but for a whole bunch of guys who are just wildly different in terms of style. You've got the 7-foot tall guy, you've got the ex-WWE guy, you've got, Psycho Clown, you've got Negro Casas, all these guys. None of it should have worked, and yet it worked better than I thought it was going.
Yeah. And it is like Chris says, you have to turn your brain off.
I thought it was going to be really embarrassing, to be honest. Like, I thought, Wagner seems up and down this year, whether or not he decides that he wants to try. And when he doesn't want to try, it's even worse than watching Negro Casas fail to take a jacket off.
Yeah. CubsFan, what are your thoughts on the work and then separately the booking of... Because we will have to say, it ended up being basically 4-on-3, where the 4 are 2 teams that have feuded up until the big show.
Yeah, it didn't really make any sense, but it's AAA, so you go in expecting that. But I did get messaged by someone during the match who was trying to figure out, we got Wagner and Golino, we got Casas and Psycho, we have the Indian dudes. Who's Jeff Jarrett teaming with in this match that he's in all the time? Because it was just so confusing. I thought, it's like, kind of had a feeling that the Indian dudes were going to win, but it was just it was like, I don't know what you actually do with them from here, but I thought, looking back at it, a regular 3-way tag match, if there was such a thing, was never going to work with those teams. So turning it into Mexico versus these foreigners was probably the best idea they could cut from it. I don't know. I think Satnam, the way they use him is probably the best way to use him. But, I stopped watching WWE years ago. So when I stopped watching WWE, I was pretty sure that Jinder Mahal was a terrible wrestler. And since he got let go from WWE, I don't really follow to see what his career has been since. But my sense were people were excited for him. So I thought, did he become a good wrestler when I stopped watching? And then watching him in TripleMania, I am sure he's still kind of really bad. But that was my take.
I think the excitement is just that such a large portion of the fan base is tribalistic between WWE and AEW, and the whole Hook gender thing happened. So it's we have to be excited for this guy. But my big thing with him is he's supposed to be a body guy, and he's not a body guy anymore. So and he's next to Satnam, who's 9 feet tall. So I'm just what does gender bring at that point? You might as well just done Satnam and Jarrett as the team. I don't know. Like you said, it's AAA, so it's what do you expect? I guess, what do you expect? When do you expect those tag titles to get defended again?
Monterey, maybe. I don't know. I would like all the foreigner champions on here. I like maybe Riddle will come back this year, but I wouldn't expect it. Like they're going. They like as a couple hours before we were talking this. Hugo announced that, oh yeah, I'm not working for TripleMania anymore. They cut me for economic. And if you can't afford your announcer, then are you going to really spend your plane ticket on Raj DC coming in to wrestle in Ciudad Juarez? It doesn't really make any sense. But who knows?
Yeah, I actually think that if you were like laying odds, them vacating the titles has to be pretty high up there as a favorite.
And it's a weird like political thing too, because it's like you put a belt on Satnam with Jarrett as his management, and they're contracted to AEW, while you've kind of got Conan like actively trying to get people signed with WWE after like the AAA AEW relationship kind of fell apart, and it's like what's going on there? Like I was kind of surprised Satnam and Jarrett were booked in the first place, and yeah, I would not be surprised if they never defended the belts and just vacated them.
I do love TripleMania, which I think with the 3 you get less of it. But I do love, not that I'm a Lucha expert, but especially on this phone call, but I love when people that don't watch any Lucha, don't watch any AAA, will dive into TripleMania, and then they'll try to figure out what's going to happen with titles. That is always like one of my favorite parts of Twitter, where I'm like, you've already put more thought into it than AAA has, it seems. So like, what are you doing? Which, speaking of putting thoughts into your titles, the next match. Commander versus Laredo Kid versus Matt Riddle. And this is the part, we're going to go to Cubs fan first, because you told me Laredo was going to win. And if I was going to yell at you, this would be the point. This would be the point, because I was like, good for him. Maybe the most unlucky guy, I don't know if it's unlucky is the term for it, but like underutilized guy in wrestling. TNA had him, and they had him wrestle Black Taurus 800 times on pre-shows, and no one else does anything with him on the indies, and then AAA doesn't do anything with him. But it's like, all right, well, they're gonna put him over, in this 5-star triple threat match. But that didn't happen. So tell me why.
Oh, yeah, maybe he's just cursed. Like, it's not only TNA had him, but he was in AEW those times, and they end up signing. They bring in Gravity. They end up bringing Laredo Kid back. It's just, I don't know if like he's just like the guy who's just like tossing over the tables of catering and just being rude to everyone or something, or just the secretly evil person, and that's why everyone doesn't like him. Because nothing else really makes sense how he's been used or treated here. But I do hold the entire world an apology for believing that, this is an obvious, easy booking decision to make. You don't even have to pin Riddle again if you don't want to. You could have Laredo beat Commander, and then you have someone who people like who's a champion and you can do stuff. But the priority is to book people who were stars about 7 or 8 years ago. So we've got Raj DC, who around the time he was the big hope for WWE in India, and we have Matt Riddle, who we're pretending is still as over as he was at some point at the end of his indie run or early in WWE. So I hope they can also get a time machine to find people who are excited about seeing them and pull them back to this 2024, but it was an entirely depressing finish.
Well, Matt Riddle was one of my favorite in-ring wrestlers in his indie period. And then he went to WWE, and I feel like they taught him how to work how they want, which I think is antithetical to everything I want in pro wrestling. But he was legitimately over. But now you have the Matt Riddle who can't work, doesn't care to work, and is also not over. I'm like always YouTubing, and he's wrestled so many random matches. Like, he's done a lot of work on the indies since he got released. They're all awful. Chris, did you have any? Was this a 5-star match, by the way? Because Conan told me this was going to be 5 stars.
It's not 5 stars.
Ooh. How many stars was it?
Maybe 3. I mean, I'm down on triple threats in general. Yeah, Matt Riddle has not impressed me. Like in years, I have the same like thoughts as Dan. Like when I occasionally saw him when I would watch WWE, it was just like, did he just forget how to work? And like he was not good in like New Japan, and I have not seen his indie appearances on purpose, and so I was largely watching this for Laredo Kid and Commander, and they were fine. But yeah, I mean, this was not. I don't think Dave is going to be unleashing the snowflakes on this one. Sorry, Conan.
I didn't realize this either going to his cage match. Laredo Kid is Laredo man, 37 years old.
Yeah,
So,
he has been at it for a very long time.
Which I guess makes sense, because I remember he was already, established when he was coming in the AIW shows, 7-8 years ago, however long it's been now. And which I will say, I remember John Thorne complaining about him not being hard to work with, but just like wandering around a lot. I believe that was Laredo Kid, that sometimes he would just take off. And
Yeah, I had this. Was once at an airport with him and a bunch of other wrestlers. No one could find him for about 15 minutes, and then he just showed up at the gate out of nowhere.
We all have that friend.
because I think it was, I don't know why I'm trying to think of there's people wondering which specific AIW show I'm talking about, but the one where Flamita came in, I don't remember what it was called, but I remember John Thorne being like, no, he showed up like 10 minutes ago. Like, he doesn't have a car either, so like literally wandering. Like, he was like, I think the locker room was like a U-Haul. And he's like, yeah, he just popped up in the U-Haul and started getting ready. Like it was just normal. Like, he didn't just leave us for 2 hours. But Pat, are you bucking the trend? Were you a big fan of this?
1,000,000 stars.
Oh shit, that's pretty good, but it is out of Infinity.
It's out of Infinity. What I was just thinking of, I was just looking up how old Freelance is, because he was Laredo Boy for like 5 minutes. And he's older than Laredo Kid, so I guess it's just down to, Freelance being 3 feet tall.
I'm a big Freelance guy, but Freelance looks 40 years old.
Freelance looks 50 years old.
Okay, yeah, okay, good. I was saying, I don't like Laredo Kid. He still moves like a young man, where the Freelance's best days are behind him.
Yeah, I mean, I watched I think it was a King Phantom show. It was a big mixed tag, and Freelance was in there. I think he was teaming with Lady Maravilla, and against Demas and Sadaka. And I was just kind of like wondering, like, Freelance, man, what happened? You were supposed to be like, carrying the kind of work rate aspect of this match, but he just wasn't there anymore, man. But yeah, this Cruiserweight title match, Commander is one of my favorite people to watch this year. And a lot of, he has a lot of really good stuff that's just like tucked away on Rampage or on Ring of Honor, or just places that no normal person is going to look. And it's sad to me that this TripleMania is probably his, biggest profile match of the year. He and Laredo Kid were good. Riddle was Riddle. I don't really know what to say about this match other than, like, the Commander and Laredo Kid stuff was my favorite part of the whole show. And yeah, Riddle used to be great in like 2016, but now, TheCubsFan, who do you think fell off harder between Matt Riddle and Metalik?
WB bring out people, but I think Metalik. I don't really know. Metalik means more to me, so I feel like him falling off feels like a bigger deal.
Yeah, I can respect that. I just remember I once drove a ridiculous distance to see Matt Riddle versus Timothy Thatcher at some Evolve show. And watching this, I was just kind of like, man, was I wrong, or has he changed?
No, I've been rewatching Evolve for the VP 2010s and maybe an episode of this podcast coming up, and yeah, no, he really was that good. Like, because I had him low, really, really low on my preliminary. Let me list 100 guys from the 2010s, and I was like, I remember liking him, but like, I hate Matt Riddle, and whether that's how he acts personally or how he wrestles now, but he was really great. And this, to be fair, he wrestled how they wanted him to wrestle, and it's just awful to watch.
Yeah, I think he wrestled in this match in a way that, it was kind of like every moment was disconnected from every other moment, but it was a moment. Like, I think he did this to Commander. He did a knee strike into a power bomb, and then the power bomb was a setup for another knee strike, which is like this. It's like the sort of thing you'd come up with in a video game or something. But it felt completely divorced from any of the other like cool moves he was doing for the rest of the match. And I think that there was a lot of that on the show where they clearly wanted stuff that could be GIFs. I'm pretty sure that's why Jinder Mahal has a title. That's why Matt Riddle has a title, so that there can be a GIF of it that gets ideally retweeted a million times. But they forgot that people are only going to retweet this stuff if the promotion is already hot, if people already care. At best, you're going to get people just like laughing at Matt Riddle, the cruiserweight now.
The most retweets I saw was when they had the clips that still had the mouse cursor on it.
Yeah.
That's what people were talking about. I mean, but you're right that like Matt Riddle really is like a spot fest worker now. He's just like in like a weird way where he's just like, this will be a good clip. This will be good for social. And it doesn't build to a cohesive match, and a triple threat match kind of has difficulties in that department to begin with. But
I did think that there was a one moment that I thought was amazing, and I rewound it to watch it again. Commander did a springboard into like a poison rana onto Laredo Kid, where it looked like if they screwed this up, both of them would die. And they didn't screw it up, thank God. But it was just such a willful violation of how bodies are supposed to move.
I did see the question on Twitter: has Matt Riddle, at any point in his actual pro wrestling career, be able to make cruiserweight?
Maybe very early.
That's what I was wondering. He got in the sauce pretty early though. Like, he was pretty built pretty early on. So I don't know. I mean, when he fought, yeah, he could make it, but he'd cut to make it. So like to make 170. So he was already probably walking around, in the 200 area slim when he was a young man fighting in the UFC. So I just don't think Matt Riddle, the wrestler's ever been a cruiserweight.
And they're not going to make a storyline about it either. They're just going to blow right past it.
And I'm not following Matt Riddle, but did he no-show Puerto Rico? So like, does that happen? From what I remember, I don't know if he no-showed the show, but Savio Vega was pissed off at him because he kept getting on Riddle to send in a promo. And Riddle kept not doing it. Oh, and then after they booked him his hotel and everything, he told them he was double booked. Okay, that's what it was. I'm just like, when all that's going on, and I'm not following, but I'm hearing about that. That's the guy you want to strap up. But somehow we have not got to the low point of the night. But our next match is not the low point. It is I don't even know what you would call it. Vampiro's retirement, but retirement from The what's the arena called?
From that arena, yeah.
Yeah. So there's someone on our Discord got really, really concerned with the official participants in the match, but I believe it's, if you want to include them all, it's Sam Adonis, Jeff Jarrett, Pagano, Mecha Wolf, Cian Cara's Conan, Peretta Morgan, Cian Cara's kids, who I don't have written down, Messiah.
Sansone and Forest Hero.
Yep. And Chessman was on here too. Yeah, he was in there too. But this was not a match. What did you think about this, Cubs fan?
I'm checking. Someone may have slipped me the format sheet for that show, so I'm just double checking if we forgot anybody from that match. It's not really. I was listening to someone with AAA explain the match, and I found out that it was supposed to be like a 5 levels of hell match, and that was not very evident to me watching that match. I'm using the word match. It was not a match. It was like a series of ideas that they had, but no way to actually get them in the ring. So we'll just wander around outside, and we'll do the pops of a Royal Rumble.
They got close to the ring at one point. They got a little close to the ring at one point.
Yeah, they were. I think they touched it, even.
And then they ran away. Oh my gosh! Yeah, so the 5 rings of hell. Like, what would that? I mean, I don't know why I'm asking you to explain it, but what are the 5 rings then? Like, are Sam Adonis and Jeff Jarrett the first ring?
I think that's the idea, that every portrait that came up was a different ring of hell.
Okay. All right.
So it would have been Sam Adonis and Jeff Jarrett as the first ring.
And then Cian Caras.
Chessman was the second ring.
Yep.
Then Cian Caras and his kids. Then Peretta Morgan. Then Macias.
Yeah. I guess that works. That does ignore the La Parca in a casket. Was that... I don't know, but was La Parca supposed to be on Vampira's side?
In hell is what they're saying.
Oh yeah, it's La Parca.
That's kind of mean.
I was watching it, and my niece is in there, not watching it with me, but she's in the room, and I was like, I need to explain to you what just happened, because I'm just cackling. It's like, that man's really dead. She's like, no, he's not. I'm like, no. They're implying this man that really died is here dead in this casket. I don't know why, but saying all this, I'd like to say there's way worse ways to spend 10 minutes. This was fun. This is the kind of feeling you want to get from the Copa that you don't. But that's what I felt. Chris, what did you think about it?
Yeah, this was not a match. This was a journey. I don't know if it was hell. But it was not of this earth. It was something I have not experienced before. Nor will I probably ever again. It is something that could only come from the geniuses, like Latin Lover and Conan. It is the most it is such a fascinating thing. Like, I'm glad that, like, by far, of anything that happened on the show, this was what got the most traction in the Discord, as it was happening, which I'm very happy, that I had so many other people confirming that it was real, that it was happening, that I wasn't dreaming, that I wasn't slowly going insane, or if I was, there were others with me experiencing it.
Yeah, it was important to watch this live, unspoiled, just marveling at it.
My regret with it is that they didn't include the sins of Vampiro's past from his year as Booker. So it's one of the circles could have been Lancelot and Mascara de Bronze and Ashley and all these other 2017 people just, coming back for one more payday to mob him.
Later that year. That guy had to be back to you.
Well, I mean, I will say,
I don't know if AAA wants to get any ideas into anyone's head that bookers should be punished for sins of booking.
But I mean, there were some smart stuff in here. Like, I mean, Sin Caras was ancient by the time I started watching Lucha, but I think he still looks cool as hell. So, like, just have him stand there and look cool. Like, he doesn't need to move. And then Parada Morgan
looks great.
He looks awesome. And like, but if you watch Parada Morgan wrestle, he's gonna get tired. But not if he's only wrestling for 40 seconds.
Not if he's just punching.
I really like Macias being like, "You're taking a bump. Like, you don't get to retire from this building without at least one bump and just a stiff body slam on the ramp." Because Vampiro didn't seem interested in even coming close to bumping. And then at the end of this match, Vampiro gave just a really heartfelt crying promo, and I don't speak Spanish, but it seemed beautiful. It is very strange because he's not actually retired. So I don't know what your speech looks like when you actually retire. Cubs fan, is he done at the end of the year? For real, I think?
I think he's done for about, maybe 6 months, and then he'll need the money, so he'll be back. I think the reason it wasn't a match is because the guy doesn't want to wrestle and he wants to be out of wrestling, but they keep paying him money, so he keeps doing these matches. So eventually they'll want to pay him more money and he will come back. I think he's done. He believes he's done at the end of the year.
Yeah. I will believe when I see it.
Yeah.
But like you said, it's working though, right?
Yeah, it's drawing in a bizarre way because it's not like it's been so long since he was the Vampiro that everyone cared about, but he's the opposite of a Laredo Kid. Everyone wants to do something for him for no particular reason, so it's good for him at least.
Well, I just think we should applaud him for going out there for 10 minutes and working a match, even though he has Alzheimer's and Parkinson's and a brain tumor, and I think he said at one point he had ghosts following him around, broken back, I don't know what he's got now, trench foot. I wonder what his next medical emergency is going to be. But for a guy with every debilitating problem you've ever heard of, he sure can make some faces when he gets punched.
Okay, now this is interesting. I went to Cage Match for TripleMania for the first time. I'm doing my prep for the show an hour in. And they have it listed, which I think this is a crazy way to list it. Vampiro defeats El Macias with Jeff Jarrett and Sam Adonis. That does not capture the spirit of what happened here, even a little bit.
In a casket match.
In a casket match, yes. What was the finish supposed to be? Because the finish seemed fine to me, except for the fact that Vampiro was visibly very angry.
I believe Vampiro was supposed to hit Macias with a chair to justify why he fell in the casket and stopped moving, and instead just kind of kicked him. But I don't think it hurt the artistic integrity of the match.
I said I was fine with the kick, and then you know what? He set it on fire pretty quick. So that to me was like done and done.
Yeah.
But yeah, Vampiro shoved that ref and was clearly really mad, which just only added to the spectacle. And I'm going to go ahead and say that if you are listening to this show, you should watch this 10-minute match and then probably nothing else from this. If you've gotten this long without watching TripleMania, just watch the Vampiro match. You don't probably need to search any of this out. And you definitely don't need to search out Alberto El Patron versus Nick Nemeth. Who wants to start with this piece of garbage?
I got a phone call. It's gonna be about exactly 10 minutes.
I think we're gonna go deep on this. I figure we'll talk about this for 2025. So don't worry about it.
It's gonna be a 25-minute phone call.
Now at this point, I'm pulling the host card. What do you think of it, Chris? What was your favorite spot in the match?
I really like JBL and Nick Nemeth saluting our country with the national anthem. I just loved. I had no idea how that it was going to turn out Alberto El Patron was behind the eye at all. So when that got revealed, I was in shock. So that was probably the real highlight.
You're right about the national anthems. Like, they built this up. Like, this was like, you know, your WrestleMania match. This is, you know, both national anthems. You know, JBL's there, the big stars. They brought all the stars. Alberto does a big, you know, fiery babyface speech. And I couldn't come up with, like, how it felt where I'm like, it seems like he really cares. And I guess he's going to turn heel, but, like, it's before that it seemed like he really cared. And I'm like, is there anyone... Because, like, I know I'm coming from an American point of view. Is there anyone that wants him to be a babyface? Like, are there Mexican Lucha fans who are like, hell yeah, defend our honor, Alberto? I just don't see it.
Does he still get points for slapping that guy, the backstage guy at WWE? Because that was like 10 years ago at this point. He was backstage at WWE. I forget what the guy did, but some guy, you know, made like a taco joke, and Alberto slapped him, and that made him the Mexican national hero when he returned to AAA in like 2014.
Fair enough.
No, I think everyone, like, forgot the story by now or moved on, or, like, there were 20 bad Alberto stories that followed that one that overshadowed.
Yeah, I say, like, the scale's tipped in the other way at this point, for sure.
Yeah, he's slapped some people he shouldn't have slapped at this point.
Yeah.
So, he was, like, badly needing a heel turn, because you're right, his character wasn't working at all. Everything else in the segment was, like, a terrible idea, but making Alberto is a naturally hateable person at this point, so it's nice that, you know, after a decade of failing to get him over as a good guy, that they got around to turning him heel.
As for the match itself, it was just like, it's almost like I wish it was worse. It was just so boring. Yeah, and it had to be one of the longest matches outside of the Copa, if not the longest, and it felt like interminable. And we all knew
only
it was
16 minutes.
Oh, that's crazy. That's really crazy. And like, it's also like one of those things where, like, I'm not gonna say I knew he was turning heel. I wanted them to turn heel, but like, we all know it's leading to, you know, interference or I guess a table spot. They had the table ready for, you know, 10 of those 16 minutes, and then they didn't film the spot. But yeah, this just went on forever before a really terrible angle. So it's not like I can say, like, the angle ruined the match. The match was already dreadful.
I just want to know who had the job of telling Flammer and Fabi Apache that they were getting kicked to the pre-show to make room for 2 national anthems and a military ceremony and an Alberto pre-match promo. Because this is where the show just kind of... You went from the delirious spectacle of the Vampiro match to... It just took them so long to even start this match that by the time it actually did start, and it was boring, I was just like, you know, barely paying attention anymore.
Yeah, not using our Discord as like a barometer of anything, but like, it was Fast and the Furious during the Vampiro match. Like, people were going nuts, people were, you know, typing back and forth, and then this match started, and I could just tell so many people clicked out of the stream. Like, so many people were just like, no, not watching this, because no one was saying anything.
Yeah, a bunch of people, like, as soon as this match started, were just like, yeah, I just started watching UFC.
Yeah, yep. Oh, man. So, I guess we can cover the angle at the end. Alberto wins the match with, he throws a drink in the face, and then, you know, kicks Nick Nemeth low, and then Latin Lover comes out and is like, hey, you're supposed to be a good guy, wish you wouldn't have done that. Then Alberto turns on Latin Lover, and then Conan comes out, and him and Dorian are behind the eye. JBL comes in, he's also a bad guy. It's just like a bunch of people that should have been heels are now heels. Does anyone have a better way of describing it? Like, I don't know how I'm supposed to care about any of this. It's like, yeah, all these people are really hateable. I hate them. Great.
Yeah, the whole show was about, like, building the people to be heels who were already booed. Like, for this whole angle from the beginning, like, everyone hates Conan in storyline. Everyone hates Dorian. He gets even after he turned face, he was getting booed every time he would show up at a TripleMania couple, which was funny, but also it made the whole thing pointless. They spent, like you're talking about, they spent like 15 minutes building up Alberto as this mega baby face when like 15 minutes later he was going to be heel anyways. Why do you use the voice? The people already wanted Conan and Land to feud from the moment Land to show up, but they had to spend 6 months to get to go around in a big circle and end up where this is. It was just a complete waste of everyone's time.
What could be the best big match to come from this angle? Because you're not getting Conan versus Latin Lover. Like, so best case scenario, because there's no one, like, who are the fans supposed to rally behind? Is it just Latin Lover? They didn't make any babyfaces on the show seem like a strong candidate to defend the company.
Is it just Octagon?
But they don't seem to give a shit about Octagon, so I can't imagine them putting him in a big match. I don't know. I just don't see... Like, sometimes there's terrible angles where I can say, well, this is the match they want to build towards. I don't know what they want to build towards here.
Yeah, the Laredo pitch is lost in a three-way.
Yeah.
I think you nailed it. It's like they really need to have somebody show up at the end to back up Land Lover and just at least, even if it's not like the person who's ultimately going to beat Alberto win the title, but you need to have some person for the fans to rally around so they know, okay, we're not just doing the same Conan is evil angle we've done 500 times, that we have a direction here beyond. But that would have taken away from Conan and Jordan's heat, so they couldn't actually do that.
I'm just going to come out and say Dorian is maybe the least telegenic person I've ever seen. Like, he makes Jim Cornette look like a normal person.
It's also like he's very obvious. Like, he is a very obvious looking man. So like, why was he trying? Like, why was he masked? Like, I'm not a AAA diehard, and I was like, well, that's Dorian.
Yeah, I don't know. But it's also just like, your faction now is Alberto, who's almost 50 years old. He's roided to hell. He looks like he's going to start breathing heavy from the effort of speaking. You've got JBL, who I'm sure is just cashing his check, and then, maybe we'll see him once after this, if that much. You've got Conan, who looks like a guy who's worked at the post office for 40 years. And then you've got Dorian, who, just looks like he looks like he smells chairs after women get up off of them. And I'm like, this is your NWO? Like, even just visually, I'm just like, these are the guys who can, if these guys can dominate AAA, maybe AAA deserves to die.
Cubs fan, is Heroes de Immortalis, is that the next big show? Or is there another, am I getting that confused?
Show that's really active.
I didn't hear you there. What was that?
That's the next big show. It should be probably in October.
Yeah, like, that's not really that far away. I mean, you're probably 6-7 weeks away. And I know they don't care about this stuff, and I shouldn't either, but it's just like, I have no idea what you do, unless, like you said, they do Alberto versus Octagon and just throw it away. I don't know.
Yeah, you brought up... someone brought up Máscara de Bronze earlier, and I think it's probably going to go exactly the same for Octagon, where they just need someone to beat up to get heat, and then they'll figure out what they're doing at. They'll need to find another ex-WB star to come in the face Alberto.
Oh, there it is. This is building the Matt Riddle title versus title, 2 cruiserweights.
Latin Lover's hand-picked protege, Matt Riddle.
Oh, that is actually depressing, because I really don't want to see Alberto Del Rio versus Matt Riddle, and that's like there's a non-zero chance we get that at some point.
It would be like 2 ex-MMA guys. It could be like what was it, the Chuck Liddell Tito Ortiz thing. What was that thing where it was like Chuck Liddell, but like he couldn't move his legs, but they still let him get into the octagon?
For like the 4th time they fought, or I don't know, it was 3rd or 4th.
Yeah,
like, not a few years back.
The last time.
Yeah. Where?
So if they did that could at least be funny.
You know what? That would be better than their booking if they just did a shoot fight to figure out who the champion is. Like, it definitely.
I think it's time that AAA embraced Inokiism.
Oh god.
I think it's time that they went all in on just raiding Combates America for their next champion.
Oh, Tito Ortiz was the last guy that Alberto fought too, I think, in like a shoot fight.
Yeah, back in like 2018.
Yeah, he came back
like
and they had that fight that was boring, and Tito won as expected. But bring Tito
Well,
in.
maybe that's the next title challenger.
I mean, I hate it less than some of the other options when I'm looking up and down the card.
Me too.
Does anyone else have anything left to say about this angle or the booking of AAA? Or everyone should read what CubsFan wrote on Lucha Blog. It's a little depressing, but he gets very angry and very to the point, and I love it. But do you guys have any thoughts on this you want to share? Besides what we said?
No, I think it's been said.
Yeah. Okay. That leads us to the main event. A dome cage match with Psychosis versus Dark Quavo, Dark Oz, Simon El Fiscal, Abismo Negro Jr., Panic Clown, Dave the Clown, and Murder the Clown. This is Lucha Cage rules where you have to escape, and then the last person in has to unmask or cut their hair. What did you think about this one, Pat?
I thought that this was exactly the right. There was some, like, we were talking about the Alberto Nick Nemeth match feeling like it was 4 hours long. I thought this was like 15 minutes. This was exactly how long it needed to be. It was goofy, but how can the Domo de la Muerte not be goofy? It blows my mind that they main evented. Like, I thought for sure this was getting bumped to, like, second from the top or something. But now Dave the Clown and El Fiscal and Dark Oz and all those guys can say they main evented a TripleMania. But yeah, it was all right. Psychosis getting the gold watch. We didn't talk about the first Psychosis going into the Hall of Fame.
Oh, I did skip over that because it was, like, from a production standpoint, just terrible. I mean,
yeah.
I don't know. I love Psychosis. I'm happy for him.
But yeah, so this was the second Psychosis. He lost his mask, and it was fine. It was just 9 guys in a cage and a referee for some reason. Which, were you guys listening to it in Spanish or English?
I was in Spanish.
Okay, in English, Larry Dallas is great because as the show was wearing on, he was just starting to openly rebel against what he was watching, and he was he's just openly being like, why is there a referee in the, is it, because there are no pinfalls, there are no submissions. And I assume it was because it was the guy with the GoPro strapped to his head. But I'm not sure that they ever actually used that shot. Just baffling stuff. And nothing got me more excited, though, than watching them set up the dome. I'm really glad that they made sure that 7 minutes of the broadcast was just footage of the dome being set up and no video packages or introductions or anything. Just, really getting everyone pumped.
Chris, you watch a lot of Lucha, and I love it as much as you. Why are Lucha cage matches no good? I mean, do you disagree with me?
No, you were absolutely right. I mean,
I was thinking this is one of the better ones I've seen in a while.
Most of them do not have a spot as good as the balloon.
The balloon spot. Yep.
I mean, it's kind of the same issue as like a Rumble. With the gimmick of a cage making it harder to see.
Yeah.
And like sometimes you'll get some like good weapon spots, but like almost any time you're like I'm watching a Lucha cage match. I'm just wishing I'm watching like a big car crash, like hardcore match, and like I know it'll have like the heightened stakes where a mask or hair is on the line, but like I mean, Cubs fan kind of called it. I kind of figured too that this was going to be Psychosis 2 losing the mask. And a lot of those cage matches are going to be lower card, mid card guys, so it doesn't have like the same, like they're losing their mask or their hair, but it doesn't like have the same feeling as like a tradition, like a one-on-one a place does match. And I mean, I don't love a lot of regular cage matches.
That's fair enough.
So.
I think we're talking about where this like the Lucha way is, it seems to be to not like, I think if this built towards the final two guys kind of having a match at the end of a match, you know what I mean? Like have the fun spot, but that's never really the way it plays out. And I don't want to come off too down on this. This was fun. It is an indictment on AAA and how viral they are that the balloon spot didn't get all over the place, because that was hilarious. That was fun. But Cubs fan, what did you think of this? And can you explain to me Abismo turning on Psychosis? Is there a reasoning behind any of this, or is it just to get to the finish?
Abismo turned on Psychosis because they had not done a turn nearly 20 minutes, and everyone was just getting really itchy. They had to do a turn.
Okay, all right.
The balloon spot, it reminds me that, like, the Psycho Clown came out with that flaming guitar, and that always looks cool, and I was wanting to retweet a GIF of it, but it's AAA, it's TripleMania, and they've moved off so many people that they don't even have the GIF people doing their shows for free anymore. It's just, you're on your own with that show, and I think that hurt the balloon thing, too. That was a cool spot, but, like, unless you were deep into the 4-hour show, no one saw it. I can explain anything they did at the end of the match, except they wanted to do something to surprise people when they had like 14 surprises already.
One second. I thought that this was a better way to end the show. I know you said you thought it was weird that it wasn't on earlier, but I'm like, it seems like maybe they knew that you can't end the show with the eye angle, the Dorian, Conan stuff. So they're like, at least we'll give Psychosis 2 his flowers. And I mean, good for them, but they didn't even do that right, because I always talk about how part of my love for Lucha is like the big presentations of a Express this match, and that you don't get that here. You don't get, I mean, they did a little stuff on the outside, but you don't get the big shot of him and his family. You don't get, him giving a promo afterwards. So they kind of even screwed up that, but at the end of the day, one of my favorite matches on this bad show. The upper half of matches on this bad show, I guess.
Yeah. It's just so weird that, like Pat was saying with, like, I guess all these guys can say they main evented TripleMania, because I kind of mentioned like the past couple TripleMania since they started doing like multiple a year, and I mean even like last year's Mexico City TripleMania, I mean that main event was not great, but and had an obvious loser with Sam Adonis losing his hair, but that still had like the stars in it that had Psycho Clown and
TheCubsFan listed. I don't know how far back he went listing all the main events, but like that was like that really put it in perspective. Where I'm like, oh, this is sad.
Like you go back and like when people go back and they think of TripleMania and the one one everyone like kind of thought of as like the joke of TripleMania, like 2017. The one everyone kind of shat on at the time, like that had the Psycho Clown Wagner match, and like 2015 that still had like Rey Mysterio and Mistezes at the top. Like even like TripleManias that people did not praise at the time had like star power at the top.
Yeah, you're right. They all have the ones where like the WWE way, where like you could cut a package and make it seem like a big deal in 3, 4, 5, 10 years. I don't know how you're ever gonna make 2024 TripleMania Mexico City seem like it was a big deal.
You just show the Vampiro match.
But then he's gonna have 7 more of those matches.
No, yeah, but that's the video package. The video package is just the Vampiro.
Just 10 minutes. That's probably the best idea.
Yeah, the Vampiro match, like, you show some people coming out for the Copa, you show the balloon spot, and, I don't know, you show Satnam Singh looking big. There's your video package.
We got it. Does anyone have any closing thoughts on TripleMania? Cubs fan?
It was terrible. It was awful. Yeah. No one should watch it. It's a terrible promotion. Everyone should be fired. They should just fold up and go away tomorrow. It'd be sad, but it's necessary.
I think it's either. I mean, it's probably, if I'm being honest, it's probably early in 2000 Indies. But outside of that, Lucha is my favorite, style of wrestling. I love Lucha. We have the Lucha Blog Cubs fan here. We have Chris of the Lucha Roundup. Pat likes Lucha. It's like, if anything, I'm biased towards like cutting it a break sometimes because I don't feel it gets its due. It doesn't get brought up enough in discourse, and it's like, then this happens. I go, no, this is awful. Please never watch it. Please, anyone who's interested. And like, I'm afraid that like there's some random person who's like, oh, I know Matt Riddle, I know Laredo Kid or Commander. Let me stop in and watch this. And like now they think, well, this is what Lucha Libre is like. Pat, any closing thoughts on TripleMania?
I think this TripleMania continues the great tradition of, there are people who only know TripleMania through like the things they hear about, like Los Villanos versus Psycho Circus, or the clip of Vampiro farting so hard that his mic picked it up. And I think this continues that great tradition.
All right, Chris, closing thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, Pat really said it as best as anyone could. This is the truest stinker of a TripleMania Mexico City, as we've stated. The Tijuana and Monterrey shows from earlier this year, also dookie. Do not watch those. But
I think this one was more watchable than the Tijuana one was putting me to sleep. This one at least didn't put me to sleep.
Yeah, this is. But yeah, it's not looking. This is. I don't even know. I don't even know what you can do with this promotion. Which, like, I have given AAA. I have not given it more shots than Cubs fan, though I have probably, like, it has been more in my wheelhouse traditionally. I am, as far as like style goes, but I like watching this promotion this year. I legitimately do not know what you can do. I'm honestly at a loss, and the advice I can give, if you like any wrestlers in AAA, is just like yeah, wait until you see them wrestle literally anywhere else, because Commander, like, what he's doing on Ring of Honor, it sucks that it's just in Ring of Honor, but it's still better than this. Psycho Clown going 50% on some indie show is still better than this. And it's depressing.
All right. That is 2024 TripleMania Mexico City. I'm glad we covered it.
I do have one more thought.
Oh, okay.
Which is just that between Alberto and Cian Caras, I hope those two guys take Wagner Jr. aside and teach him how to dye his hair.
Oh, true.
That may be one of the saddest things about 2024 Lucha is seeing what Dr. Wagner Jr. has done to his hair this time.
Well, I just take that as like a visual representation of how much he cares about it at this point.
Yeah, maybe that. Yeah, maybe I should go back and look and see if there's a correlation.
Yeah, like that's the point where
how sloppy his hair dye is versus how hard he's trying in a match.
Like I said, I think Cian Caras, he looks like a cool 75-year-old or whatever he is.
Yeah.
I think he should be like in like, I don't know, movies or something. I think he's got a cool look. Just don't ever want to see him move because it's very sad to watch him walk.
And if you measure wrestling, working, whatever, by, how much money you make for how little you do, he literally sat up out of a chair and got a paycheck for it.
And I mean, that's the dream. That's what we're all here for.
Yeah.
That brings us to everyone's favorite part of the show. And yeah, Cubs fan, I know you're not a listener, so that is the same theme song for the Big Top as the Wacky Line, where we answer questions from our listeners. And the first question I have to ask is from someone who's not a listener today, but is on the show, Pat, and it is very topical, so I got to get into it. Because I want this like non-ironically. What is everyone's favorite Conan memory? Let's start with the man himself, Pat. What were you thinking when you asked this question?
I was thinking of a Conan versus Eddie Guerrero match where the finish was an accidental headbutt to the crotch on a leapfrog.
I like it.
And it's not a great moment in WCW history, but probably my favorite Conan moment.
Chris, favorite Conan moment?
So I kind of brought this up in the Discord, but I think one of my big moments was when Conan finally DM'd me on Twitter, because I had heard so much about Conan DMing people about listening to his podcast. I was just like, is something wrong with me that he's just never DM'd me? And then finally, probably about 2018, he DM'd me for the first time to listen to his podcast, to post about his podcast, to get other people to listen to his podcast. And since then, I think I've gotten at least 2 other DMs across accounts like that. And I think that's the moment I really became an online wrestling fan.
Now,
so
are you spoiling
Conan a lot
that he's a future guest host of Violent People Radio?
Well, I didn't think I was giving that much, but now you did.
I'm not gonna tell him when. So listen every week until he shows up. Cubs fan, your favorite Conan memory?
Favorite Conan memory?
Yeah.
There was a time when I was at either Regine's room there where he shook my hand and told me I was doing a good job. but I think we both regret that moment. The time he annoyed everyone so much at Lucha Underground that they put him in the casket and declared him dead. That was a great memory. I'm sure I have like good memories of Conan, but they're just not coming to my mind.
I didn't think about it until Chris talked about Conan and WCW. I went to a house show. God, it would have been 98 probably, late 98. And I remember showing up with my uncle. I can't tell you what the matches were, but the first 3 matches were all really good. I mean, you had an LWO 6-man tag in there where I'm sure it was, Damien Psychosis and Cyclope and Silver King, those guys. And you had a Ray versus Kidman match. And it was my uncle who doesn't really care about wrestling, but like, this is how I know work rate does work for non-wrestling fans, because he was like, holy shit, WCW is awesome. Like, and it turns out he just likes, he likes work rate, because then it was Conan versus Vincent at the time, I guess. And he went, oh yeah, this is it. And he got up and left me like a small child. He went to the concession. I mean, I was probably 10, but he's just like, this is the wrestling I know. And he just left, came back with beers later. It was just like, this stuff is fake, And so I just remember Conan turning my family against me. But there was like a glorious 45-minute period where Kidman and the Luchadors converted them to a wrestling fan before Conan ruined it.
Conan went from, main eventing the first TripleMania, being, the Mexican Hulk Hogan, whatever the legend is, to WCW, where he was inspiring people to abandon children.
I don't know. I mean, like, I'm 10. I'm not small, and I know the 90s are different, but he just went, I'm out of here. And I was like, oh, cool. I hope he comes back. That is my ride, and we are 2 hours from home. I am going to pull back the curtain here and say I'm trying to find these other wacky line questions. But I know we have at least one more, and I'll get to that. That is, if you guys were characters in a video game, what items would you drop if you died? Pat?
I'll say scented candles.
Ooh.
I think that would be a good power up for a video game. I don't necessarily have any scented candles on me right now, but that's something I can aspire to.
Okay, Cubs fan?
Completely useless. Maybe like late in the game, you find out that there's this 12-step fetch quest where you need the cardboard box. Otherwise, no real value.
Chris?
When I die, I am dropping a bottle of Excedrin, a blunt, and a can of Arizona Mucho Mango.
All right.
I'm just imagining like Baldur's Gate 3, like you kill someone and you hit the loot button and that's the list of stuff.
Yeah.
See, I know that Chris of the Goaty Gang is not a fan, I believe, of this game, but I just play too much Skyrim in my life, so I'm just assuming that I have like 4 gold coins and like 2 iron arrows, and that's it. Just like someone you kill really early on. Just really inconsequential, but you loot them anyway, because why not take the gold and the arrows, but you're really disappointed that's what I have on me. And I got to the bottom of the wacky line. We have Tanner saying, got 4 questions of the wacky line, so we should be good. Then he never shares them, and he's not in the show.
They're there.
Where?
They're like 4 messages into the phone. Like, they're right there in the Founders chat.
Oh. I'm talking all the shit about him. All right. Let's get at least one more in then. Let's see. Oh, here's another Lucha question. If you were a luchador, what would your mask look like? Also, I don't know. I can't understand the last part. So, if you were a luchador, what would your mask be like? Cubs fan?
Tries to get me to buy a Cubs mask every time they come up on some merchandise site, and like there was like the WB Cubs mask, and I was never mortified that people suggested that I needed to buy a WWE Cubs mask. But I was like the Tinieblas, where you have like just like a screen over your face, so like no eye holes, no mouth holes. You just have a screen there, and it's like a dark color.
That's
and
what JBL was wearing this weekend.
Yeah, I would assume he has no idea what mask he was wearing this weekend, but something like that. That's probably what I'm doing.
All right, Chris, what's your mask?
I'm going like very similar to like a Wotan mask, because that's obviously the luchador I would model myself after the most. I would obviously kick as much ass as Wotan does. So just very dark, like green for the eye holes.
Would yours have a C on it instead of the W, or are you sticking with the W?
It would be like a very stylized C. And then because I don't have much hair on the top, it would be my beard instead. So it'd be like Wotan mask, Dameless beard.
Okay, I like that.
Would you have the paint in the beard like Damus, though?
No.
I enjoy. I don't want to say they're my inspiration to talk about with it, but I enjoy pretty much every iteration of the Trauma's mask, even though they're all like wildly different. I like just being like, I'm gonna be spooky. I'm just going for spooky. Because then if I look cool, that's like half the battle of being a wrestler. And plus, I feel like most of those Traumas, Park and his sons, like 6-man tag matches, I honestly think I could pull some of those off. You're mostly just walking around, and then you're getting the mic a lot. It doesn't seem like too much of the actual wrestling part of wrestling. So, give me that mask. I think I can blend in. Pat?
My mask would be based around a bucket hat with the top cut out that all my hair would go up through, like Scotty Too Hottie.
First off, don't brag about having hair on this podcast.
Oh, I have so much hair. And I would wear a wig too, so I'd have double hair. But yeah, it would be based around that, and the actual, it would just be standard like eye holes, cut out for the mouth and nose and stuff. But the main component of it would be a bucket hat.
That's sick.
I have to say that question was full. I don't think I'm saying who's reading these. I'm not usually the host, as you guys can tell. Let's see. You have to make a wrestler. This is from the Pad Rag. You have to make a.
I think you say that closer to Patrick.
Oh, okay.
I think it's just like a Gaelic spelling.
You should say it. I don't say it like that.
Okay.
You have to make an all wrestler version of a reality TV show. What show and what wrestlers are you picking? This one's kind of involved, so we can maybe end it on this one. I want to go first because I have an instant answer. I am a big Road Rules Real World Challenge guy. And so that's the instant format I want. I want wrestlers trapped in a house with very little food but lots of alcohol, then made to do a bunch of physical challenges. And I think it should probably be mostly just like all of your most nefarious, untrustworthy guys. I mean, a lot of the guys we troubled on TripleMania probably Conan and Vampiro and Alberto Del Rio. Just any wrestler who will make an alliance, but then instantly leave the room and make a different alliance. Like, that's what I'm after. And then plus, if they're bad people when they fall from high heights or are made to eat disgusting foods, you can just feel good about it. You feel like this is a positive thing for society. Pat?
What's that show where they have the naked people on a dating show?
Oh, I was thinking Naked Ever Afraid, but I don't know the naked dating one.
No, there's one where it's like they show everyone from the neck down, and then you don't see the face. I can't remember what it's called, but it would be that.
Oh, so you see full nudity, just blurred face?
It's full hardcore nude.
A naked attraction?
Possibly, but and then I'd just get all like the weird horn dogs like Marty Jannetty and put all them on there.
Oh.
I would never watch this, but I would feel good that it exists in the world.
I get a lot of heat on this show for being friends with too many wrestlers I don't really know on Facebook. Marty Jannetty, good Facebook friend to have.
Oh yeah. Between Marty Jannetty and Necro Butcher, you're set, man.
Oh my god! If you are bored and you're like, let me pull my phone open, go to Facebook. One of those two guys is saying something incredibly offensive, and you'll just.
I mean, Marty Jannetty and Necro Butcher would be the first two contestants on this naked wrestler show. So
I like it because it's two very identifiable guys. Like, I don't need to see their faces. I know Marty Jannetty and Necro Butcher when I see their bodies. Cubs fan, you got a reality TV show and some wrestlers you want to throw in it?
Just do Ultimate Fighter with like half the AAA roster, so we get to see the big Mr. Iguana and Nino Hamburguesa shoot and all the other fun matchups we could throw in from there.
That's actually really smart. You pulled it around there. I like that. Chris?
I've got to go with my favorite show, Survivor. Actually has some wrestling pedigree. John Morrison has been a Survivor contestant. Ashley Massaro was also on it.
Johnny Fairplay, TNA legend. But I wouldn't put anyone like a John Morrison on this version of Survivor. I would make sure it would be the people who are the worst possible at physical and mental and social challenges. So I would put like a bunch of like 2000s indie like IWA, Mid-South, and CZW wrestlers. I would put like DJ Hyde in there. Madman Pondo's in the house. See who. I don't know why that cracked me up so much, but that really got me. The thought of Pondo really that tickled me. Oh man. I lied. We're gonna do one last one because I'm hungry, and this question is ideal pizza topping. And I might go eat pizza after this, but I am a meat lovers guy. I want any meat you can get on a pizza. There's no line. Chicken, ham, meatballs. I mean, probably freaking elk, whatever you want to put on there. Chris?
I'm not super picky with my pizza. I'll pretty much eat anything, but
that's actually the right answer. There's always that guy when you're going to order pizza that has a lot of requests, and you're like, "Hey man, I'm gonna order a pepperoni pizza. Just calm down."
Yeah, I'd say my go-to is just like a pepperoni mushroom or a pepperoni sausage.
I love both of them. Cubs fan, what's your pizza topping of choice?
I am the worst person to answer this because I am just a cheese pizza person with no toppings, and I'm a person who is a lame Chicago person who actually orders the deep dish stuffed pizza like once in a while. So I just have no taste at all for good pizza.
I say I have too many kids in my life. I'm like, we always order cheese and no one eats it. Come on down. Like, I feel like I throw away so many cheese pizzas because everyone will throw their hands up saying they want cheese and not pepperoni, and then this shows up and like everyone's eating pepperoni. Pat, pizza toppings?
Pepperoni, throw a little bit of like red pepper flakes and a little bit of oregano on there, and that's all I need.
All right, I like it. I think that's a fairly successful Violent People radio.
But before we wrap up, I promised you I was monitoring the crazy people on Twitter.
Oh, what do you got?
This entire time. So relevant to today's thing, there's a Joshi reply guy called the Levi Priest 12. And he has decided to yell at Starlight Kid for some reason. And in doing so, he says, "Starlight Kid, look at the real luchadoras thrilling competition among strikingly attractive and strong luchadoras. Las Toxicas, including Flammer and La Hydra, versus Las Bramexas, represented by Julissa and Valentina Rice. And so, yeah, there are guys out there that are screaming at people from Stardom to be more like La Hydra.
I have to call you out for not reading the next part of that. He has a reply to his own tweet. Did you not see it?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay. La Hydra's remarkable. Yeah, there you go.
Yes. La Hydra's... Well, first off, he spells it La Hyrda. La Hyrda's remarkable thickness is a level of intensity that may be difficult for you to navigate, yet I am more than capable of doing so. Remember, he's talking to Starlight Kid, so I don't know why he thinks Starlight Kid needs to navigate her remarkable thickness. I am able to handle all 4 of these women by myself. They prefer undernourished women and women who are unable to reach a bike's pedal. I'm not sure what his point there is. I think he's accusing Starlight Kid of trying to sleep with luchadoras.
I have to ask you, how do you find these people? Are you just going through different Joshi wrestlers' replies?
Sometimes there's that. Sometimes I have very good friends in very good group chats who will just post insane nonsense.
I gotta imagine being a Joshi wrestling fan's tough, because it's like, today I didn't, but normally I said something super offensive and you want to be like, hey, show this sport some respect, and then you go on Twitter and this is just all it is. This is just all the other fans of your shit.
I mean, if they post, anytime a wrestler posts anything, if you scroll down far enough,
it is.
You get to the guy who's like, just completely divorced from reality, but lucid enough to kind of like reach out towards a figure they see on TV as a point of connection. And then some of them are just, weirdos who yell at women online.
I mean, there's a lot of these, like, people. I saw someone sent me some freaking TikTok of like a Dr. Phil show where like people have like boyfriends and girlfriends of just being catfished by, wrestling superstars. Like, I'm dating Liv Morgan. I don't see her, but her account that only has 20 followers, they DMs me all the time.
Well, I just hope that they're happy with their fake Liv Morgan and that it brings them peace in their life.
Actually, my nephew's boxing coach actually just told me. That's funny. He told me the other day his ex-girlfriend.
I was really worried that you were saying my nephew is dating Liv Morgan.
No, he is. They're going steady. His ex-girlfriend, I don't know how we got on this topic conversation. That's how she made money. She just catfished dudes. And he's like, at first it was funny, and then I was like, maybe you're like, there's something wrong with you, like morally. Like, how do you wake up every day and just do this? And he's like, so I dumped her. And I went, well, that's good. That's lovely. And I'm like, I don't know how you go to a party. It's like, what do you do for a living? Oh, I go on Tinder and I just find sad people to send me money. And
I mean, I paid for TripleMania.
I was gonna say that's basically Conan's business model. Find sad people to send them money. You paid for it?
I mean,
like US dollars?
I bought the bundle.
Oh, you bought the bundle. Oh my god!
So they were like $25 each versus like $55 for the bundle. If you're gonna be stupid and pay for TripleMania,
you got bundle. Here I am calling out people like, what are they doing? And like, I'm on a podcast with a guy that sent AAA $55.
Yeah, it's I'm sure I'll do something stupider this year, but I'm hard pressed to think of what.
So you only got like 4 months left. That's gonna be tough to top that. But yeah, I want to thank Pat and Cubs fan so much for coming on. I mean, this was, a shot in the dark to get Cubs fan on here, and this was super last minute from Pat. It was literally just us going into Discord and being like, hey, who's free in 3 hours or whatever it was, and he hopped on. Cubs fan, everyone should go to TheCubsFan.com/CMLL. Do you have any other plugs?
No. Something better to do than watch TripleMania. That's all I got.
I legitimately don't know how you could follow Lucha without checking out Lucha blog. So if you got this far and you're not already checking it, that's like crazy to me. Like, I'm impressed. Pat, do you have anything to plug?
No. Go to the Violent People Discord. Don't be weird on it.
Yeah, you're a mod. You'll take care of it.
What's funny is before Dave Meltzer just started copying stuff from Lucha Blog in the Observer, I would send him like, you know, when AAA like ran stuff on Twitch, I would send him like show reports. And I remember the only time he ever ran one of them correctly was the one where I said that Los Mercenarios looked like BDSM leather daddies, and that La Parka moved like a crippled Frankenstein. And then after that, he just moved on to, like, quoting TheCubsFan's website directly. So I like to think that my terrible show reports of AAA, which constantly were like, oh, and TheCubsFan has GIFs of it, you can, if you're not going to watch the show. I think that helped push things towards the current state of affairs where Meltzer just cribs from TheCubsFan.
That actually got me on a tangent. Something I never shared about myself on this podcast here is my earliest internet writing is actually for Dave Meltzer's enemy, Dave Scheer and Mike Johnson, for PW Insider. I stole from another site when I was like a child, like I was like 14. I stole This Day in Wrestling History. I would literally just copy and paste it and send it into PW Insider, and they started running it like a daily thing for a while. And he even hooked me up with tickets to a WWE show when they were in town, because he had some kind of radio show or something. He's like, hey man, you live in Cleveland, right? It's like, yeah. It's like, you're doing great work for the site. I'm like, yeah. It took me 4 seconds every day. And then he got really mad because I disappeared and I had to come back online. I'm like, I'm 14, man. I got grounded. I wasn't not doing anything on the computer. She took away my space too.
Oh man.
So like I kind of pushed that away, but I don't know, that popped in my head for some reason, sending shit in. Like, I felt so proud of myself. Like, it says my name on PW Insider.
Yeah, I was in my 20s when I was sending this stuff to Dave Meltzer, so I don't even have a good excuse. So I was just like, well, I hope that... You know, actually, no, my excuse was I wanted the Observer to cover stuff that I liked.
Mm.
So I'm like, well, let me send stuff to Dave Meltzer about DDT. I'm sure he'll get more excited about DDT now.
You got it.
And instead, it's like, I would send him this big, long email, and then he'd, like, you know, take, like, 2 sentences out of context and just be like, yeah, and then DDT ran the show, and the finish was, basically whatever the opposite of what I said it was.
Dave, like one of the most important people in this industry's history.
I would like to apologize to anyone who ever got bad information from the Wrestling Observer because Dave Meltzer paraphrased an email in a weird way.
Well, at least you're sending him stuff and he's paraphrasing it wrong. Now he has people that are just actively sending him wrong stuff and he's still posting it.
Yeah, I gave up, but like around the pandemic, I was just like, I'm done with this wrestling shit. So I have not sent him anything in a long time.
Speaking of the pandemic, the latest Wet Hot American Dragon Summer hit website. It's about American Dragon in 2020. And then last Friday, Chris, your 2019 piece came out about the Dragon and the Fiend. You could read those at violentpeople.co. Do you got anything else to plug, Chris?
Not at the moment.
Okay.
We are, depending on Tanner's situation, hopefully recording Muscle Orchestra tomorrow. But we'll see. Other than that, going through more July Lucha this week. We'll get that up hopefully before the end of August. So it's at least timelier than last month. And then I do have a piece I'm finishing about the Violent People Hall of Fame. I just need to clear it and get a date on that, so I'm not gonna hype that up too much. It's just a formality anyway.
I'm excited for that.
The completely Lucha-free Hall of Fame.
Don't. That's not our fault. That's the voters' fault. Democracy is the wrong choice. We've learned. I'll show you how, like, in the bubble, and like I'm like, when the first time TheCubsFan put the Lucha Roundup, I went, that's my site that I write on, is on linked to on the Lucha blog. Not anything I wrote. Just like, I'm like, that's Chris, that's my buddy Chris on the Lucha blog. I'm gonna go ahead and plug. I have already told these guys that Talking Tourneys is returning for real and will be up before the end of August, and I'm sticking to that. It may not be with people the person you're expecting, but it's returning, and it's returning soon, most likely early next week. Outside of that, listen to Q&T, and is the Noah tournament still going on?
Yes, listen to Nimrod.
Yep. So on the Violent People Lab feed, and just go to the site violentpeople.co. Thanks for listening, guys.